Hey, I'm Cable and welcome to this week's business tutorial on what I call the 4 pillars of how to run a successful fitness business. Now, this is going to be 1 part operations training, 1 part management training, and 1 part time management training, because the fact remains is that we can really only focus on one thing really well. You know, it's so easy for us to get pulled in 1,000 directions every day, and really we get spread so thin that we do a mediocre job at best. And this is one of the reasons that I think many small business owners really tend to struggle, because you'll notice it's the 4th pillar in operations, but you rarely get around to creating that operations manual, because as entrepreneurs, and especially when we start as solopreneurs, we get really comfortable and accustomed to that idea of making it up as we go. And every day we're met with a problem, we figure out a solution, we execute on the solution. Tomorrow it's a new problem, the next day it's another problem. A month from now we face the same problem, and because we didn't document anything, we go through the same process of making it up as we go, dealing with it on the spot, and away we go. But the point is it's really difficult, because you notice operations is way over here, and we're talking about that operational process. But when you take your time and attention to figuring out operations, everything else starts to suffer so much that usually there's a great deal of stress. And I think honestly this is like one of the big reasons why many small business owners fail within the first 5 years. Like, that failure rate is super high because we're constantly pulled in 1,000 directions and don't know where to focus our efforts. So that's the point of the 4 pillars. This concept is something I use with all my coaching clients. It helps them to know where to put their energy and how to put their strategic focus to ensure that they continually have the resources when it's time to move their focus to that other thing. So this is in order of importance. So ironically, you know, I'm known as the systems and numbers guy, and a lot of people come to me trying to understand how to create their operations manual, their operational systems, but as you can see, to me it's of the lowest priority, and I'm going to explain that here as we go. So let's talk about what the 4 pillars are: sales and leads, client results and retention, cash management, and finally operations. Let's cover each one. Sales and leads is really anything that brings in money, especially new money, right? So being able to close a deal today, whether you're selling an ongoing membership, a paid in advance membership where people are paying you upfront, whether it's preparing your next promotion that's going to grow your email list that ultimately creates more trials, which ultimately creates more long-term customers. So sales and leads always has to be the number 1 focus until you have the ability to predictably create new money, because without new money we can't afford to turn our attention to these other things. And why is that? Because quite simply, money buys time, right? When we have the ability to create money on demand, we then have the ability to buy time, which allows us to focus on the other areas and streamline our operation to build a business that works. So whenever you have to decide, we all have that big ugly to-do list of all the tasks that we have to do each day. So how do you decide what you should do first? Well, you should go through that list and look, what are the things that will allow me to generate more sales or more leads today? What is the thing that is the most likely to create new money today? Those tasks should always be at the top of your list. Okay, secondary to sales and leads, and this is going to seem crazy, but clients, results, and retention is always number 2, meaning I would rather you worry less about service and experience with your clients than sales and leads in the beginning. Now, wait a minute, don't tune out, don't turn off the video, because I know that sounds counterintuitive and absolutely crazy, and that we all take pride in the services that we offer, and we want all of our clients to have a really amazing experience. If that sounds like you, and I certainly hope it does, which is fantastic. We're a perfect match in terms of how we think about servicing and providing value for our customers. We want to make sure they have a good experience. But again, the fact remains is that money buys time, right? And if I don't have adequate money to keep the business going long enough to be able to improve those results, it doesn't matter, okay? Now, some of you are thinking, wait, I'm still not buying that. Maybe I don't believe you. And here's why. Because when we're solopreneurs and we're starting this kind of journey on our own, this comes naturally to us, right? And this usually is uncomfortable, but because we're so good at this sort of takes care of itself enough for us to get by. And that's why most trainers, like, we start a business, we decide, hey, I'm going to be like a personal trainer, fitness professional, and we start getting some clients and we're making some money, and then it kind of plateaus. And for many, it kind of declines. This is kind of, and then statistically in Canada, something like 80% of all trainers don't even renew their personal training certifications because they can't make enough money to survive in the industry. But this is why, because we are so strategy focused, we're so knowledge focused that we focus on results and retention with our clients, which is really great, which attracts a few, but it can't get us over that hump to scale, especially when we start to recruit people that work for us. Because you think when you hire another trainer to work for you, it sort of comes natural that they'll be like you, but that's not the case, right? Because if it was, they wouldn't be working for you, they'd be going through that process themselves. So the point is, when we start to hire somebody, it's not that they're bad people, it's not that they're not hard workers, it's not that they don't have good values, it's just the nature of the relationship. When you work for somebody else, you will never care about as much about the outcome as the person that owns the company. And that's just basic human behavior 101. It's just the way it is. So we need to take that into account, which is why the very first thing, if you're going to grow and build a successful fitness business, is you have to master sales and leads. And anytime those tasks are on your list, we need to start with those tasks because we need to have this predictable ability to create new money. Okay, I think I've kind of beat that to death. So pillar number 2 becomes client results and retention. So once we're good at bringing leads in, then it's time to clean up services, right? And it's time to make sure that people have good experience. So some of the ways that you can do that. So first off, with sales and leads, you're going to find that in order to make a real predictable method of creating new money, the more often we do the same thing, the better we get at it. So a couple of years ago, you would have heard me talk about an elaborate marketing calendar and different promotions and scheduling things far in advance. But the reality is we realize just get really good at 1 or 2 or 3 things maximum that many consumers like to or find appealing and just repeat that over and over. So we might have 3 or 4 different names for our 1-month trial, but at the core of it, my favorite promotion to offer people is a 1-month trial to try out and get to know our services. So those people in that trial, now what can we do to ensure they get consistent service and retention, right? We want to have a good onboarding program. We want to make sure our meal plan is dialed in. We want to make sure that our meal plan is simplified enough that when we hire trainers or give it to people, they can be less skilled than we are and execute. Or you want to make sure that you have the ability to oversee the interactions with clients and trainers. So for example, in my one-on-one business, every client used to have a file, and every week my business partner and I would meet with the trainers, and they would bring all their client files, and we would kind of briefly discuss each situation. What progress did Mrs. Jones make this week? What are the action steps that you're taking with her? What are you going to do next? And over time, those meetings got shorter and shorter, and those discussions got faster and faster because they were teaching them a process. So you kind of see what's happening here as we start to think about this. Some of these things start to happen naturally, right? And we start to document that process and creating systems. So results and retention are the second thing. What are the things that you should be doing for results and retention? You know, typical note sheets are important, I think, to have some kind of client file, client surveys. So at the end of the first week or 10 days, the end of the first month, quarterly after that, good to be asking your clients how they see the service. Using before and after photos. If you watch my KPI video, you totally should watch my KPI video because it will talk to you about how we got our team engaged with some of this stuff within our facilities and so on and so forth. So anything relating to do with that client experience should be the second priority for you when it comes to picking your tasks and what you're focusing on. The third is cash management. And I used to make this pillar number 4, but for me now it is number 3, because what I see is that when you start to get good at this, and this is functioning not too bad, the big problem that I see with some of my coaching clients and trainers in general is that when you start to make more money, you have no idea how to manage that money, right? And we start to improve our lifestyle, we start to buy new equipment, we spend money on the gym, we don't understand the difference between a profit and loss statement and the balance in the bank account and how they relate, correlate, and make decisions. So understanding financial management, working with your accountant or reading great books like Profit First, or I actually have a financial product for trainers called the Cash Flow Manifesto that I share with my coaching clients and may soon be available. But the point is budgeting and reviewing those financial statements on a monthly basis and understanding how your numbers work, followed by evaluation of quarterly business numbers, cost per lead, cost per customer, the attrition rate, the retention rate, how are your expenses growing. You want it, you know what, I know this stuff is so boring for many people and they like to ignore it, but the reality is you've got to learn your numbers if you want to stay in business. So that becomes pillar number 3 when I'm looking at my terms of my tasks, reviewing the budget, understanding my cost allocations, look at my profit and loss statement and knowing how my metrics work out so I can make decisions. Our business is seasonal. As I film this, we are the end of April heading into May. The mid-June, business will level out, leads will be on the decline for a while, people will be non-committed, you'll find your attendance will go down because people are away on holidays. If you don't understand your numbers, you don't know how to prepare for it, right? And many people, they see their revenue go down, so suddenly they can't afford to spend as much on marketing, but the truth is, you should be spending more on marketing, in my opinion, through June and July because your cost per lead and your cost per customer is going to be higher, right? And that's part of the seasonal nature of our business, and we want to level it out. So finally, when we understand our numbers, the last thing that we do on our list is operations. And like I said, some of it will happen naturally here. So when you're deciding how to do things in your business, just make scribbles on a napkin even if you need to. Like, what are the bullet points of how to do this? Put it in a binder. It doesn't matter if they have coffee stains on it. It gives people a place of reference to follow. If I have to solve that problem, can I do it the same as I did last time? And by doing things the same, we get better and better at it. So you start to realize, hey, you know what, step 4 is no good, so we'll revise step 4. So that's why this is less a point of emphasis and something that kind of starts to take care of itself as you start to engage habits in these other areas, which is why it's also the 4th item for me. So much more important to focus on new money, ultimately then client results and satisfaction, then being able to manage the budget to ensure you can stay in business and grow, and then finally we focus on operations. So the whole purpose of this today is not really to give you the blueprint to how to run a successful business. It's to help to try to mitigate the chaos that you probably feel each day when you're pulling 1,000 directions and go, I got to do with this, this, and this, and this, and this. What do I focus on to actually make sure my business is growing and this gets better? The point is that any business that's growing and has a chance to succeed will always be chaotic. You should never worry about chaos. You should worry about when there is no chaos. Because if there's no chaos, then things are stagnant. When things are stagnant, it's either going to be on the decline and die, or it just isn't going anywhere. So it should be chaotic. But those moments between the chaos, you want to be able to keep propelling the business forward, which is where the 4 pillars comes in. It's that 30,000 foot view to say, in the midst of everything going on, when I have those minutes that I can focus on something that propels the business forward, where do I turn my attention, right? And this is the order of how you need to choose those tasks. Guys, I think the goal of this video is really to just get you thinking. I hope that it starts helping you to ask or think about some questions, and that would be really great because I'd love to see your questions below this video, because really that's the point of this, is kind of disrupt the thought process, make you question things, and I'd love to help you out. So give me some questions. What do you think? Oh, hey, by the way, if you like this video, make sure and subscribe to my channel, because every week I'm kind of posting new stuff like this to help you grow and run a more successful fitness business. So be sure you hit that subscribe button before you go, okay?